Well, hello, people. Hello, everybody, and welcome to AWS Security Live, a show where we come to you every other Tuesday virtually, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific. And occasionally, when we're out and about, we'll be with you in person at events like Reinforce, reInvent, and some AWS partner summits. I'm one of your co-hosts for today. I'm Ryan Orsi, and in charge of a team that handles partner specialists for security and identity and governance, cloud ops, and resilience. And I get to work alongside one of my favorite co-hosts and colleagues, Mr. Himanshu Verma.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Welcome, everyone. I just want to add, light or shine, or rain or shine, or night or day, the show will be there for you. Yes. Speaking of which, my name is Himanshu. I lead the team of our worldwide security, identity, and governance specialists. And today happened to be joining live from one of our work trips from Mumbai, where we're meeting customers and talking to them about their security outcomes. That is what our team does. We are a team of subject matter experts who help our customers with their security outcomes as they are working on their AWS cloud journey. One of the key topics that keeps coming up and is front and center our customers' minds are AI security and how to leverage artificial intelligence securely and or secure their AI journey in AWS.
And then investigating what's going on along the way, right? I mean, if someone says, I need to monitor my X application or X users or X environments, if it's an AI-powered environment, that adds a little bit of a twist to the story. But the forensics and investigation part of this whole story is also a very interesting part of the space, would you say, right, Himanshu? And
yeah, I think
hats off for dialing. I mean, you said my ears were a little clogged. Mumbai, India. It's like middle of the night right now. You are a trooper, sir.
That's right. It's funny because we were actually hosting one of our customer executive event after sunset for the first time, which was like, the first iteration of that. I was like, hey, it's 6:30 p.m. in Mumbai, and we're going to gather customers. Funny enough, after a full day of interactions, we were continuing to go on. I had to step out and I was like, hey, we need to go and do this security live. So I was like, if you get a chance, tune into that. But you're absolutely correct. I think one of the key topics, when customers talk about AI security, it's like sort of like in three pillars is where the discussion goes. Either it's how do I secure the AI adoption? But the second one, especially for security personas, is how can I use AI to automate security outcomes? And then the third is, how can I protect against AI threats? And in our discussions, there's obviously native AWS workloads like Amazon Bedrock and guardrails that play a big role. There's our own security services that include a lot of automation and building blocks. And then there's partners who play a big role in helping our customers.
Exactly. And speaking of those partners, that's one of my team's daily jobs, is to find and talk to and bring into different programs and co-innovate and co-market with the most amazing security innovators out there. I think we've got one on the line with us. Francesca, are you there from Darktrace?
Hello.
Welcome, Francesca, to Security Live. I think a two-time champion, three-time champion?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me back.
We love having you on this show. It's always a joy. For those in the audience, would you mind introducing yourself, Darktrace, what you do at the company?
Yeah, absolutely. But also must say I'm a massive fan of the show. So I really appreciate it. I think you were with Tyners and DXC last time, which is great. Both partner of ours. And also I'm joining the stage with Optiv this time. So big shout out. They're a massive partner of ours too. So I feel like it's a family affair with AWS. So thank you.
Bringing the whole community together. Security is a team sport, right? Everyone's needed.
Exactly. That's correct. And I think Francesca is bringing in a third dimension of time zone here, isn't it?
Yeah. Guess where I am.
Look, Connecticut. Delaware.
I am in London, so we're in three very different time zones. So as you say, by night or day, we'll be here.
I'll try to hide the the bros and the Southern California things. I'll try to
You'll
hide
have your
my best.
coffee. I'm going to the pub soon.
No, it's great to have you on, Francesca. Tell us more about Darktrace and your role at Darktrace.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess before I dive into kind of myself, I just want to tee this up because today we're going to be talking about the very, very exciting launch of a new product at Darktrace. And so to kind of give a spoiler to the audience, we're going to be setting a new standard for cloud security through automation, as you have just mentioned. So my ask to everyone is to get really excited because we're going to explain what it's all about in a second.
Wait a minute. Are we breaking news here on Security Live?
Yeah, this is
the first time it's being spoken about with AWS because it's built in AWS, and we're very, very excited about it.
We are honored.
So who am I, what my background? And I know there are a lot of audience who are maybe new in security, or maybe it wasn't their kind of background. And so it's probably right to say that my background is not security. And I have a very kind of atypical route to getting into cybersecurity, into Darktrace. So I started Darktrace almost 8 years ago now. But my background was actually in international relations, and I set up a for-profit social enterprise. And then I started my tech career at Salesforce and did some years there, and then really kind of combined my interest in tech with cybersecurity, and ended up in AI and cybersecurity before anyone even knew that was a thing. So I'm now the global VP of Strategic Alliances, which is not Star Wars. It's a real life job, which is cool. So I think about our cloud strategy as a business. So how we kind of better build, deploy, integrate our platform alongside other third-party security tools, but a lot on AWS with the AWS, and also deliver our products. And so we work a lot with the marketplace. We work with a lot with the likes of Optiv and our channel partners around the world.
Well, fantastic. It's great to have you back. And just for folks watching, like my team gets to interact with Darktrace and some of the other security vendors that we work with. And I think what always comes standing out very, very shiny and very differentiated than anything else we've dealt with is your uniqueness and how you all monitor an environment, whether it's in AWS or elsewhere, but you're monitoring the environment using your own custom think tank, if you will. I know some of the smartest brains are there at Darktrace, and you sort of get that fingerprint of what is normal behavior for that environment across applications and network and data and policy access. And it's really unique. So huge shout out to you all for innovating there. And can't wait to see what's next. So what are we kind of teeing up here, Francesca?
Yeah, so it's a really good point, and your pitch is fantastic. So anytime you want to go out to the world and pitch Darktrace, we know that Ryan has got a back.
I'm just a geek that just loves geeky technology.
I was gonna ask an interesting question. Francesca mentioned her journey towards Darktrace, which was very interesting. I was curious, what's the story behind the name?
That's a very good question. Well, I mean, if you think about it, what we do, and it's kind of a perfect segue to describing what Darktrace does, because many of you won't know. So Darktrace, we use unsupervised machine learning to learn what's normal, as Ryan said, within an individual customer and individual environment. So we learn every user, every device, and then through really statistic deviations, we pick up anything that's unusual. So what you get with that and why it's so unique is novel threat detection. So never before seen threats. And that has kind of allowed us to scale to the size that we are with 10,000 customers. So the way that I describe Darktrace in real simple terms is like turning on a light in a dark room. And so when we think about Darktrace, right, we are tracing into the dark. And so, it's a pretty cool name. I get asked about it quite a lot. But yeah, that's kind of the basis of who we are. And we've got this patented self-learning AI. As Ryan said, we really look across the entire digital estate. We started in the network space because back in 2013, everyone was on-prem. And now, we're so much more than that. So we're kind of Gartner Magic Quadrant for not just network detection and response, but operational technology. OT is the acronym, but I've explained myself. We are the customer's choice for email as well. And then the last couple of years, we've set our sights on cloud, which is what we're going to be talking about today.
Very cool. So I think fair to say that it's not only tracing for these dark traces in infrastructure, but also in applications. And looks like, now this is a launch event for Darktrace.
Absolutely. So I'll give it a short history because, again, kind of our journey into cloud has been quite interesting. So again, Darktrace has been around for 12 years. We were bringing AI to cybersecurity before, it was even a thing, let's be honest. And so when we think about the majority of these customers, like I said, they've started their life on-prem. A lot of them are highly regulated. We work with a lot of highly regulated organizations, and we know collectively firsthand the challenges with transformation in those regulated industries. It's security, right? And I think, we've obviously seen, we as our AWS customers have also seen the incredible benefits and innovations and scale that AWS and kind of the cloud brings. But the challenges for those security teams, and, we speak to our customers all the time, really in short, it's that attack surface area, right? Like that has become kind of infinite in a way because the cloud is like living and breathing with these ephemeral workloads. And I'll quote one of my favorite ever lines, which is one of the security managers that I was speaking to, described it to me like, moving to cloud and securing cloud with traditional tools was like chasing a flock of invisible chickens in a hurricane.
Nice. Yeah, those invisible chickens are like Lambda functions. Where did it
right?
go?
Serverless, containers, it's there and then it's gone. And so the first kind of, route to this was they came to Darktrace and said, we love your approach in terms of learning what's normal, give us visibility and, find novel threat detections, because ultimately this is all new for us. So we did that. We went deep into AWS, multi-cloud. So now we kind of brought the true real-time detection response capabilities to those more complex environments. So that was good. That was a few years ago. People are happy. We've got that detection. But, and this is a thing that I really want to talk about because, our position is that we have to assume that it's not if, but when there'll be an attack, right? So it's all about how we're going to kind of capture it, investigate it, respond and remediate. Because once you start thinking about cloud investigations and incident response, I'm going to make a very bold statement here. Our position is that cloud investigations are broken. I'll just pause there.
Broken. Dun, dun, dun. Bold claim, Matt. Bold claim.
I think I was gonna even touch on the topic that comes up all the time, especially like just a few minutes ago. We were talking about this in detail, is around signal to noise ratio. Like I think I try to figure out, hey, why do customers need to go and investigate something if it's like so deterministic? And usually I think to your point is because of these ephemeral resources that may or may not be there at the time when the incident happened. So, that container pod might not exist in a few minutes, or that IAM entity that was created to go associate itself to, a serverless Lambda function might already be gone. So tell us, Francesca, is the investigation process necessary to go in and align that finding, which might be point in time, along with a time series, so that you can see, hey, what happened maybe 30 minutes ago or 60 minutes ago, versus because today there's a lot of tools that just detect stuff and, they continue to emit findings, which again, I think you can be very precise and accurate in the findings itself. But I think my understanding is that security operations usually wants to go in and see if there was a bad IP address or a malicious activity that was detected, at X hours ago.
Exactly.
How was it? How was it manifesting, itself across other resources or over a period of time?
Yeah, it's about trying to kind of stitch it all together and give you that and capture that snapshot in time. And I think, to give, again, context for everyone listening. So when we think about, organizations out there, 90%, there was a report I can send you guys, but 90% of the surveyed organizations that were spoken to suffered damage before containing the incidents. So let's think about this and let's bring it to life. So when we think about real life customer, picture this: an alert has come in from, maybe one of the third party posture management tools. Maybe it was in a container. Maybe it's come in via AWS Security Hub, and that lands on the desk of a level 1 security analyst. What next? They can't even access the data, right? There are policies, there are lack of permissions. So then you have to start an investigation process, Himanshu, as you just mentioned, right? As a security person, that's their job, that's what they need to do. Any investigation in a company causes disruption. If you think about the manual process that it takes today, you've got to raise a ticket, teams work in silos, they've got no visibility. And for those DevOps on the call today, right, we're using precious resources from you all because you now have to go and find out where that data is and provide access. But guess what? We can't capture the data because it's gone, right? It was in a container, it was in Lambda. And a third of all alerts don't contain enough information to even investigate, let alone be resolved. So this is why I'm making a bold claim. It's a big problem.
Okay. So alerts exist, and they kind of exist in siloed areas. And if a person like a security responder wants to investigate a network-based alert, like it's a network looking suspicious traffic, you're saying they may need to peer into an application, but that data is owned by an application team. They have to go submit a ticket. It's a big company, wait a while to get access to it, because everyone is trying to do the right thing and practice least privilege and keep data only accessible to those that need it. But an investigation, they do run into those brick walls.
They do.
Yeah, by the way, and not to mention highly resource intensive, right? I mean, you got to gather and collect all this raw log information and telemetry to go in and stitch all those things together.
So on average, it takes 3 to 5 days. And this is where it starts getting a bit scary around kind of regulation, right? In the US, in certain parts of EU, now you have to report breaches within a certain period of time. So if it's taking 3 to 5 days, then that's
a lot of heavy metal concerts. My hearing is going, but you said 3 to 5 days
on average.
I'm pretty sure we've had a guest recently that said 32 seconds is the average amount of time before malware campaigns begin to move laterally inside an environment. That does not sound very good.
Well, there you go. Exactly. So, and this is where the lack of visibility, right? And so often, of course, if an attacker gets in, they are transversing across the digital state, different environments. And so it's too little too late. So it's this classic kind of people process technology challenge, right? And so, very rarely do you have forensic teams within an organization, maybe for a big bank, things like that. If you don't have the headcount, then you need to outsource it. And of course, you have brilliant incident response teams like AWS. I know you have a fantastic service, but in a perfect world, you'll never meet them, right? So it's trying to mitigate and prevent it.
Very, very true. Yeah, that's actually a good point. For those that don't know, there's the AWS Security Incident Response Team. I'm sure when you all might have experienced them at some point, didn't even realize it. They're kind of working behind the scenes, keeping things up to speed. Sometimes there are false positives, right? Francesca and Himanshu, sometimes an event, it turns out to just be, that's a test environment, right? And someone didn't deploy the proper security controls because it's a test environment, doesn't have access to any real data. But we would also argue, keep every environment as if it was a production environment. I think, Himanshu, right? That's some of the customer meetings, partner meetings that we often stand up, because you don't want to get flooded with alerts, but you also don't want to open yourself up to making that mistake where you've moved something from test to QA to production and bad practices follow their way through.
It is sort of like a unspoken secret every AWS customer is entitled to what we're referring to here, which is called the Customer Incident Response Team, or CIRT. Anyone can log a ticket when in doubt, and there are human responders who will jump in with their expertise to help investigate these things. And then it has been turned into a managed service called AWS Security Incident Response, which I'm sure is integrated with partners like Darktrace to provide additional value for our customers.
Absolutely. And so, in short, what are we going to do about it? Right. Because again, we need to think about like providing tools that are created for these environments and importantly automated as much as possible, because not all organizations have not even the luxury but the resources to be able to access third party, have teams internally. And so I love this quote by a customer. What did they ask? They asked for a button. They said, give me a button to solve for this. I want automation and I want context. So, you ask and you shall receive. And so
you are the Darktrace genie.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is where a really exciting acquisition that we did came into play. So Kado, for those of you that haven't heard, is an absolutely brilliant technology that is super unique. It's so unique that Gartner created a new category for them, which is called Cloud Investigation and Response Automation. There you go, CIRA. That's the latest.
And thank you for spelling the acronym out, Francesca. See, you're
I've been here before, right?
You know, the acronym police. We're waiting. We're just sitting with a button on the back end. Our producer has got a very itchy button finger.
So yeah, Kado's awesome. And it's, again, very basic analogy, but it's kind of like having almost a Ring camera in every room of your house. It sounds creepy, but if you think about it, the moment that the threat is detected, what it's doing is it's taking a snapshot of the host level data. So like disk, memory, logs, artifacts, things like that. And importantly, it's capturing it and preserving it for investigation. And what's super cool about it is it's triggered by any alert. So you might have your, third party cloud security tools, cloud native tools, but also Security Hub, Guard Duty, so everything from AWS within any AWS service. And that's what's super exciting for the ephemeral assets, right? So your containers, your Lambda, etc. So the idea is that you're going to take advantage of your kind of existing investments and be able to kind of instantly capture and observe any potential threatening data. And really the big shift here is moving from that manual process to minutes. So it's stitching it all together, and it provides that kind of attacker timeline to so rigorously you can actually take it to court. And this is where it gets really cool, because again, going back to the kind of regulatory piece, is that often, you want to be able to prove that the attacker did not grab the sensitive data because of all the drama that causes and reputation and potential reputational damage.
Right. Yeah. And you said everything is available to an investigator from the Darktrace environment, right? I presume, or can people come to it? Because I know investigators or incident responders, they like their chair at the right height. They like their mouse with a certain style. They like their own tools. They like to really customize how they look at data. I wonder how flexible it is with your platform.
Yeah. So, and this is what I guess is really exciting. So, Kado started as a self-hosted. So, those really large organizations. And so what we did was we kind of democratized it, sassified it on AWS, so it can become available to everyone. And importantly, it can be utilized wherever, as you say, your UI should be, right? So you can absolutely go and kind of log into the Darktrace UI, but importantly, it can stay, in your typical workflow. So that's, in terms of ease of use, that's a great one.
I like that modular experience of wherever the customer is and their journey is. I think that's something that usually gets overlooked again, because most of the times customers tell us that one of the pain points is like, they have to deal with multiple different consoles and interfaces, and security incident response teams don't live in these consoles. So that's very cool with that flexibility.
Yeah. And I'm kind of looking for, you probably have an example, either Cato before Darktrace or now Cato with Darktrace. Is there an example of, the before and after effect of something like this, Francesca, that, and we can kind of be hypothetical about what it takes to go access, this application team's log information, copy and paste it into this S3 bucket or spreadsheet, whatever you're doing to investigate. But what does it really look like? Do you have any good stories out there?
Yeah, so a couple I'd say, and again, because of the acquisition, it hasn't launched yet. We're talking about big organizations, so banking, healthcare, things like that, very sensitive data. So one particular was actually with Lambda. So there was a piece of code that obviously, again, not serverless, weren't able to capture that. And the challenge for the teams was specifically around sensitive healthcare data. And so again, going back to that kind of compliance piece and regulatory piece, in every other scenario, it would have taken kind of 3 to 5 days to do the investigation. And regardless or not, they wouldn't have been able to see whether the attacker had accessed kind of sensitive data. And so for that healthcare organization, the key thing was not having to report. Because again, going back to the potential reputational damage, and my goodness, like the resources that's required to actually go and go through the kind of investigation process is so massive. So it is huge, right? It will be a game changer. And again, as more and more organizations, we want them to move to cloud, we want them to innovate, and we just want to alleviate the potential concerns around security. So hopefully, in partnership with AWS, this will be a really great tool for our customers.
Yeah, a great step forward, Francesca. I mean, thinking back to different meetings, events that Himanshu and I and our teams put on around the world, we often get, picture us like on a panel right now, and there's a microphone coming for us, and someone in the audience goes, "So cloud, is it more or less secure?" We always say, "Hey, it's more secure because you, without a doubt, with total certainty, know everything is right there, right?" When it's on premises or private data center environments, you don't know who's plugging in what, even though you can have very good strict controls and access policies. Your visibility is there. Now, to your point, things are ephemeral. Container pods spin up and down. Lambda functions exist for just a few milliseconds, they disappear. So I think
in an attacker pathway, literally showing exactly what has happened, as you say, transversing across the network. Like, it's so powerful to then receive that report and be able to file it away.
People need to check it out. And before we let you go, Francesca, I saw we've had the QR code up here for folks to go check out your new product launch. Thank you so much for entrusting that news with us on Security Live. Let's see, it's afternoon for you, evening. What's for dinner?
What is for dinner? That's a very good point. I'm going out for dinner in Soho in central London, so probably something delicious.
Sounds like
non-celebrations, yeah.
Yeah. Really roughing it today.
Celebrations about our new launch that's happening at the end of the month, so everyone check it out.
Fantastic. Well, Francesca from Darktrace, thank you so much for joining us on Security Live. Folks, Himanshu and I will be right back with the next segments. Don't go anywhere. We'll be watching you. We'll be waiting for you.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Cheers.
As promised, we're back. We were watching all of you. You don't know what kind of spyware we have. I'm just kidding. Joke. Welcome back, folks, to the next segment of AWS Security Live. We get to talk to you and our AWS partners about security, interesting things happening, challenges, how we can band together to solve some of these challenges, and what each of us are working on, right? Just sharing general information. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ryan Orsi. I'm at AWS, and I lead a team of partner specialists that dive in with AWS partners around the world in areas of security and identity and governance and operations, and we should say resilience as well, keeping things up in the face of whatever may come your way. I'm joined by Mr.
Yeah, hey everyone.
Very dapper looking Himanshu Verma today.
Usually not the attire I'm in for Security Live. I'll be wearing our Security Live t-shirt, which I should have been carrying, but I'm on the road today with customers in Mumbai, India. My name is Himanshu. I lead the team of our security, identity, and governance worldwide specialists. We help customers with their security outcomes using native AWS or our partner tools. Big discussions going on here, especially customers innovating with AI, artificial intelligence, moving from Gen AI innovations to agentic innovations. But the number one topic that comes up is how to secure these AI developments and innovations.
Very, very timely topic there, sir. I know, we've been working with a partner named Optiv Security. Who doesn't know Optiv Security? Almost everyone I bump into knows Optiv Security. They've made quite a name for themselves. And lately, they've been innovating in a really cool space related to AI security. And I think we've got Brian from Optiv backstage.
Oh, yes.
Be able to
timely topic for a customer. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Welcome.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Thank you for having me. And while I'm in Chicago for OptivCon, so in the central time zone, I reside in Tampa. And so we have lots of time zones covered today and appreciate being here.
Well, thanks for making it, Brian. And folks, by the way, if you're just dialing in, let us know, where are you dialing in from? Where are you tuning in from? We've got Mumbai, Chicago, and Southern California covered over here amongst the three of us. Brian, if there is somebody, I would be shocked, that doesn't know who Optiv is. I'd love for you to tell the story of Optiv, and then of course yourself. How did you get to Optiv and into security? Himanshu and I, we had perfect straight shots in our careers right out of college, cybersecurity. Here we go. No, that never happens typically, but we'd love to know what your story is, sir.
Sure. So first, a little bit about Optiv for those who aren't familiar with us. We like to say we're a category of one, and our tagline is we secure greatness. But really what that means is we meet our customers where they are. And we started out as a value-added reseller. We added on a lot of solutions integration capabilities, installing, setting up, migrating cloud workloads, configuring AWS security. And then from there, we added advisory services. And that's where I sit. And advisory services is a consulting organization. We help people solve many of the people and process problems related to implementing technology. And my journey into security started a very long time ago. I've been doing this for about 25 years. So I've moved through a lot of different roles in a lot of different places. But what I realized a long time ago was that security is about risk and risk management. And so for the past 6+ years, I've run a strategy and risk management team at Optiv. And then for the past year, I've been running a secure AI services capability within Optiv. We realized, as everyone did after ChatGPT in November of 22, that we needed to get real serious about artificial intelligence, that we needed to start working through all of the various problems that brings to the table. And I happen to have been doing that for banking, meaning I spent some time with Bank of America. Prior to joining Optiv, I was with Hewlett Packard, which eventually became DXC, where I led a security architecture team. And I've been running into machine learning and helping organizations secure machine learning and now AI for about 10 years. Over the past 3 years, we've been doing it a lot with regulated organizations, whether that's in healthcare, whether that's in financial services, and we're starting to see some trends and capabilities. And from that, we've built repeatable capabilities, repeatable methodologies, and we've started to help clients solve some of those people and process challenges. I know our partners, Darktrace, we're talking about the ability to do investigations, to have transparency, to have accountability, and it's interesting to watch all of those things come together. We've been doing them for security for a long time, and now we're adding data and then non-deterministic capabilities within AI, and that creates some new challenges that we have to solve. And I'm excited to talk with you because AWS has some unique ways to solve some of those security challenges, and with Optiv, we've been able to work through implementing some really neat Gen AI applications on the AWS infrastructure.
Oh, you're hitting all the right buttons, Brian. And actually, one of the things you just mentioned kind of triggered me, which was you've been working with clients during when machine learning was the topic of the day, and big data, right? And tuning your models on big data is kind of where some of this AI things, or what we would say is AI, with like our family members talking to chatbots and getting like perfect English or perfect native language responses back and being absolutely mind blown. Prior to that was machine learning and the security aspects of that. I'm kind of curious from your perspective, 10 years ago, when it was just tuning training models on large data sets, and it was called machine learning, or ML, to stay true to our acronym police. We haven't gotten anyone on this show yet, Himanshu. What's up with that? But anyways, from 10 years ago to now, what's kind of changed?
You know, it's interesting. Some of those early projects were more algorithmic. It was things like high frequency trading algorithms and the ability to place large CPU really close to the New York Stock Exchange, connected via fiber so that there was no latency. And as everyone knows, security has some overhead, right? Like there is a cost to having security, whether that's having to put in a password or even just using a Face ID or a thumbprint. There is an impact from having security. And when you're talking about high frequency trading, when you're talking about machine learning algorithms that are more deterministic, right? These are deterministic algorithms, and so they have different problems. But you get into things like latency, and you can expand out the number of CPUs, etc. But having security there is a difficult thing when you're all about speed, latency, and resiliency. And so having to engineer or architect around some of those problems, mostly on-prem at the time, obviously, because of that. But those were some interesting challenges that we had at that time. And that has kind of morphed or migrated. I mean, the idea of a non-deterministic computer, right? Compute is in the name, but yet we've taught them now to be non-deterministic, or to essentially, you can see 2 + 2 and get 5, or some other creative answer, which is what we like. That's what we think intelligence is the ability to combine concepts into a new concept, the ability to be non-deterministic. At the same time, that creates some unique and interesting challenges for risk managers and data managers that it's going to be fun to solve over the next 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you mentioned. Oh, I was going to say, Brian, I think a lot of the folks, I'm sure, are interested in not only that journey of how machine learning evolved into generative artificial intelligence, where you're basically generating either a response in the form of natural language processing, or an image, using, again, generative modes, but now back into deterministic forms of actually performing actions using agents. So as we evolve into that now agentic world, how's the security landscape, conversations changing with customers? You mentioned like ChatGPT, which falls into more like a consumer application, but then there's enterprise applications for generative artificial intelligence, and then there's fine-tuned, pre-trained of pre-trained models and fine-trained models, which again deal with large amounts of data. And now agents, which, to some extent are machine-to-machine conversations or interactions. So what is top of mind for customers when it comes to security?
Wow, you said a lot there. So let me key in on a couple of things. One, you mentioned agents, and so I would be it'd be remiss of me to not talk about Model Context Protocol, or MCP. If you're talking about,
I was going to hit you on the MCP. I was waiting for it. You're too good.
So Model Context Protocol, for those who may not know, is the idea that you can pass context either between agents, between models, or off to tools. It is a standardized way to communicate that context so that you can use the same context, in different situations. And it's a new, relatively new. It's less than a year old practically, but a lot of people are using MCP servers, and there's not a whole lot of security around MCP servers. And generally, you use API security, or application programming interface security. It involves a lot of shared tokens or shared secrets. It involves potentially PKI, etc. But we're moving more towards identity focus around MCP, and the latest MCP standard calls out OAuth 2.1 as a authentication standard, and having that allows you to start to assign identities to agents. And these are the types of problems that all of the leading identity companies are working with. And previously on Security Live, we had Darktrace, who is helping solve some of the problems related to transparency and accountability. Because the reality is, if you don't trust AI, then you're not going to use it. Right. And so security plays a large role in helping getting AI to market, or helping organizations start to trust those artificial intelligence applications to do work and to help them. And having that agent which can help you accomplish your job is something a lot of people want right now. But most organizations we're running into, they have a lot in testing, a lot in test labs, a lot of proof of concepts, and they're just starting to move those into production. And the reason it's taking them a little while, some people will say, oh, well, I've been using agents for a while, but for a large organization, the reason it's taking them so long to actually get to that agent being useful is the security, is the accountability, is the traceability, and the problems that are more people oriented around, well, who owns these risks, and how do we manage through these problems, and understand who owns accountability. Is it different when it gets to the data layer? And I like to tell people regarding AI, it cannot unsee something, right? And so if you use something for training data and put that into a model, that data is there forever, right? You can't go in with a scalpel and carve something out of your brain in order to remove a memory. And you can't go into an AI model and carve out it learning something. It just has it in that brain or in that model. And so you just have to be careful with what you put into it. And it comes back to security concepts that have been around for thousands of years, right? Segmentation, breaking it up into different models, right? You might have a highly regulated model that does only highly regulated things, tied to a more open model that does a lot more for the organization. And the two models together can solve bigger and better problems than the one model by itself. But the security and transparency as you pass that context between those models and as you work through the problems is, the devil is in the details, as they say.
Totally.
Yeah.
And Brian, I sorry, Himanshu, I want to clue in on, you were talking about agents and specifically MCP servers or model context protocol, and saying there's not a lot of security around it. I'll say my observation is there's definitely not the practice of least privilege, with MCP interactions. But from your history and career path here, like what kind of, maybe we start with access controls and telemetry logs would you like to see coming out of MCP interactions that you don't see today, or or vice versa? What do you see from access control policies and logs that you do appreciate? Like, what's working and not working around that?
Well, let me start with a higher level concept for just a second. It's a good question. We like to talk about at Optiv assistants and agents, right?
Hmm.
And we delineate what an assistant is from what an agent is based on basically identity. We all are starting to use a lot more assistants, whether that's a Amazon Q or other assistant that operates in either my development environment or within my desktop. Those things operate in the context or have the identity of the user, and they are assisting the user. Whereas when you are implementing an agent, an agentic AI, you generally want that to operate autonomously. It has its own functions and jobs and triggers. And as it triggers things and does work, you want it to have its own identity, because the last thing you want is an automation out there operating on your behalf. And whether that's me as an individual or the security team within my organization, we don't want things automated going out and doing stuff for me because that creates confusion from a security perspective. That agent can do a lot of good, but having its own identity also solves the big problem of, well, should it have access to everything I have access to? Right? And so as we talk through assistants versus agents, that is one thing to solve. Now that you give an agent its own identity, then you need the ability to have that traceability, right? Which agent is doing what work? And if an MCP server is not secured properly, it's just a tunnel. And anyone who has that shared secret can use that tunnel in order to execute things. And they've proven that MCP servers can be used for remote code execution. And remote code execution is the nefarious or bad thing that most of us don't want to see as security professionals, because that's what enables a malicious actor to run something on a host or in a container or as a process somewhere that it shouldn't.
That's absolutely, I think, spot on. One of the reasons, Brian, I think, why on the technology side we've been helping customers with what I call like taking away the undifferentiated heavy lifting is Amazon or AWS has always had the principles of providing flexibility and choice, which is very important when we talk about innovation, especially in the areas of generative AI and artificial intelligence. So we provided the ability to take away that undifferentiated heavy lifting, but the flexibility of model choice with Amazon Bedrock, and now of the ability to leverage agents by again, Amazon Bedrock Agent Core, which gives customers the choice of launching or developing agents of their choice. But to your point, the nuance of security still remains, where how and where the secure communications happen, whether I'm using Model Context Protocol or MCP today, or the to be newly launched agent to agent, another open source protocol tomorrow. And I think in response to that, we ended up also providing some of the core agents along the way, which is an identity agent or an observability agent or a runtime agent. Where do you see like this agent force, quote unquote, interacting with each other, right? And then are we going into a world of new security complexity, or are we going to ease down the security complexity for customers?
Yeah, so somebody said once, I don't know the reference, but somebody can correct me, that change is the only constant, right? And so you just have to get used to change. And I think we've all experienced this, whether our careers are 3 years long or 20 years long, but the complexity increases. Dare to say it, but I was around and helped solve the Y2K problem, and that was the first.
First acronym. Where's the producer?
I think
so Y2K is that
so
year 2000 for those who need that acronym defined. I guess you got me.
Only the millennials, only the millennials and earlier generations can probably reference that. I'm sure like the Gen Z population will have to go and look up.
Yeah, they're searching right now. They're asking an AI agent, what the heck is Y2K?
I've earned most of these gray hairs here, and in the field helping solve problems. And I mentioned Y2K because I was in my 20s back then, and it was one of those things that we thought the world was going to end, right? But through technology, through good people, through good processes, and just working through the problem, it was something that proved to me that humans can overcome just about anything, and that this complexity is something we can overcome. And AI is the solution to the AI complexity is kind of the way that goes. Having AI help us solve that complexity problem, I think, is going to be tremendous. And many of the jobs today didn't exist 20, 25 years ago. And I anticipate that some of the jobs that we have today will morph and change, and that the jobs we will have 20 years from now will be completely different. But to the point, which is, you mentioned Agent Core, and I'm a big fan of Lambda. I'm a big fan of Agent Core. And let me just pause for just a second and describe how I view kind of the different AWS capabilities. Kind of more foundational is like SageMaker. And so if you want to build your own models and connect them yourself and have that choice that Himanshu mentioned, you can use SageMaker. If you need something that is a little more canned, where some of the configurations are there, the ability to put guardrails is already set up, and you just have to determine how much guardrails you want to put on it, then you have Bedrock. And then on top of that, or even less configuration, more, if you will, agent as a service, is kind of Agent Core. And inside of Agent Core, there are things like agent identity and agent runtime and different features that you can turn on that are serverless, right? And so it's a great place to build agents, and you can have the customization that you need with SageMaker, or you can, if you don't need to get into the nitty-gritty details, you can use a higher level or more abstracted capability like Agent Core to solve the problems. And it has the logging already turned on, and it has some secure configurations that you can use. And that is helpful to the everyday person trying to build an agent. At the same time, if you need help with all of these things, that's where Optiv comes in, right? And we've got a lot of services to help organizations solve these problems, from just writing their first AI policy all the way through operationalizing AI and understanding what are the playbooks you need to have if a agent hallucinates, and you've got to figure out how to solve that problem paired up with your data scientists, right? These are, in some cases, new to the IT folks, new to the security folks, and require bringing together some of the data engineers or the data scientists with the security and IT to then support the business, right? We have to remember the whole objective is to support the business and help them achieve their goals, and do it transparently. There have been a number of AIs that have been built, or machine learning models that have been built. One was a loan amortization and loan approval algorithm, I'll call it. It was more of a large language model than that. But the point being is it went and analyzed, say, the last 10 years of loan data and came back and said, oh, well, you as a financial institution should have given loans to this 1% of people that you didn't, right? And the executives were like, okay, well, that's nice, but why, right? Because we have underwriters, we have entire departments that go through and look at these things. Why is this computer program now telling me I missed 1% of opportunity? You have to be able to explain it to me before I'm going to use that AI. right? And that's why we like to tell people that a lot of the problems are really not, can the computer do it, right? Can the artificial intelligence
computers can calculate, right? We trust that. But
well, that's the problem, is they're no longer calculators, and we maybe don't trust them, right? There's a lot of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt out there related to, can we trust them? And that's because some of the early models you couldn't trust. They couldn't explain it. And one of the fabulous things about the cloud is it has all of those features to create the explainability, the traceability, the Lambda function running for a couple of seconds, the Kubernetes container that spun up for a minute and solved the problem and then is gone. Can you trace all of that back and understand what happened? And it is building those processes. It is working with organizations to understand those things that Optiv has been doing. And we've been working through this problem for now 3 or 4 years. And we've got various projects and capabilities. You can go out to www.optiv.com/AI and see many of those capabilities. And I'd love to just take an opportunity to put up a journey slide that shows what is the journey to secure AI. Thank you.
This is a great, this is a great idea, Brian. Yeah, Himanshu and I get to a lot of meetings around the world. I mean, besides the topic is AI and what do I do about it from a security perspective, the very next question is, where do I start? Should we talk about what regulatory compliance I have to be beholden to as a business, or should I talk about how to take my existing security team and adjust their jobs and tool sets so they're properly securing and monitoring AI? I'll be quiet. Go ahead, sir.
No, you're 100% right. We developed this slide because of those exact questions, whether it was a CEO or a CISO or just an engineer in security. Where do you start? What do you need to do? And we broke it up even into kind of a maturity model, right? So at the bottom, we have launching secure AI versus building a foundation versus implementing AI security versus operationalizing secure AI. And that really depends on how fast an organization wants to get to implementation of AI and what type of AI they're using. But over the course of building those policies all the way through AI testing, which includes all of the explainability, all of the frameworks, all of the observability, etc. The ultimate goal is to get to a point where it's in production and it's operating, right? And that's why the last step is the operationalization, tongue twister, of secure AI. And since Optiv is a security company, we just focus in on what are the security problems you have to solve, and then work with the organization on stepping through these. And we have done each and every one of these chevrons as an individual project, or we've combined them into projects to help organizations accelerate their programs.
Oh, nice. And Brian, I see the word governance in some of the middle, like Q1.
Yeah.
Governance, hugely popular in Himanshu in my world right now too, because people want to know what tools, logs, controls can I configure and monitor to maintain compliance, right? For whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, and not only that, I think, Ryan, we might have to get Brian back.
We're like 60 seconds away from ending the show.
Yeah, because the topic that we haven't even touched on is how is all this going to help the security orchestration or the operationalization part as well, which is, there's also a lot of good stuff happening with regards to leveraging AI for automation and leveraging AI for security outcomes, which I'm sure, Brian, I think will be another topic we will jump into. But, given the time we have, really appreciate you diving deep on this. And folks on the call, if you are anywhere in the journey map of your AI adoption, reach out to Optiv, one of our partners, for their offerings. And Brian, since we had the Y2K reference, I think I'm going to now take a shot at learning from Brian, other than, at the Optiv conference in Chicago and Jazz, what else are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so, Optiv has a lot of regional events. One of the things that has brought me to Optiv and kept me at Optiv is the fact that we're very intimate with our customers, and we have regional marketing. And as Ryan said at the beginning, most people know Optiv, CISOs know Optiv. We're a well-established brand in the space, and so I really appreciate you guys having me on, and it will be good to come back if that was an invitation.
I think it's a part 2 to be continued. The sequel, Brian from Optiv, coming soon, everybody. Stay tuned. Look for the announcements of the showtime. We do have to wrap up. Brian, thank you so much for joining the show today. Folks, Security Live streams every other Tuesday, 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific. Until next time, take care, everybody.